You and me. Maybe some others too, but
Well, we'll have
hello
a good
everybody.
conversation anyway.
Oh, regardless. And of course, we have the recording. Um, Hi, everybody. Welcome. Make yourself comfortable wherever you are, and let us know where you're dialing in from. We have our chat on the right side of your screen. We look forward to hearing your thoughts today and to listening to your questions, of course. Another episode of Books and Beyond. And today we're going to be talking about delivering value with project management. And who better to talk about this than Juanita Woods? Thank you, Juanita, for joining us and for accepting the invitation to brainstorm over a very important topic in our field. And Juanita, you are well, you have a long history of experience in project management, program management, and also you are currently a professor at the University of Georgia. So you're doing a lot of research in the academic space. So there's lots to talk about there. And hi, James. You're attending from the office. Very good. We are attending from different virtual settings. But yeah, looking forward to this discussion. And Juanita, if you'd like to give us just a few words about yourself, so we can then kick it off with the discussion.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for inviting me to speak with you and the people who are interested in the PMO leader in this podcast. I'm very excited to talk about project management. I can talk about project management, people management, program management, teaching, research, anything all day, every day with anybody who wants to hear. So I'm very excited to spend the time to talk with you today. So I do have a long history of project management. And I actually, my undergraduate degree, I tell my students this, my undergraduate degree was in secondary science education. I had no idea I was going to be a project manager. I really had no idea I was going to be a high school science teacher either. I was going to be an astronaut. So you can see that my career has gone from a very big dream to something that I could never have dreamed about, but I love tremendously. And it's been a wonderful road and it's been a wonderful journey. And where I am now, after 20 plus years in the field, I'm now able to help young people like James, who happens to be a former student of mine, with understanding project management and how it can help them be successful, whether they go into project management as a career or not. So I'm kind of in the pay it forward stage of my life where I'm really helping people get to the next level of whatever profession they want to be in. So I'm very excited to be here.
That's amazing. I think we're very excited to have you here, and we won't get tired of listening to everything you have to say about all of the above. This is what the PMO leader is doing. We are just facilitating access to great minds like yourself. So we're very appreciative of you making time to be here today on a Friday. And just kind of picking a bit your brain because I heard about the astronaut, which I also saw about you in an interview, and I found it very interesting to kind of jump from that ideal to doing project management. So what happened if you how did you change your mind towards project management, I guess?
Well, okay, so it's a very interesting story, and it just goes to show you and everyone that where we start out in life is almost never where we end up in life. I've always been curious and a learner, and like I love to explore new ideas and new things, and I love the idea of exploring the unknown, right? And that's why I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to go into space. My mother back in the 80s was so concerned she'd never see her grandkids because I was going to be living on the moon. You know, go figure. But I love science. I loved learning. I loved, getting in there and digging in and figuring out how things work. And so I ended up taking a lot of science classes as an undergrad, and I changed my major 5 or 6 times. I'd take my geology class and I'm like, oh, I want to be a geology major. I'd take physics. And I'm like, I want to be a physics major. I would take anthropology. I want to be an anthropology major. So my advisor at the end is like, you need to graduate. So take this semester of education classes and you'll get a secondary education degree and you'll have a job. And I was like, fine, okay, whatever. So I got my teaching degree. I went and taught high school in a rural county in North Carolina. I'm not going to say much about it, except the pay for public school teachers at that time was abysmally low. It's well below the poverty line, even today. I survived a year teaching in public school, said I was never going to teach again. I went to work as a temporary for a data entry project for an insurance company that was transitioning from a mainframe to a server-based data system. So this kind of dates me back in the mid 90s. And I was doing data entry. I started leading the data entry team and convert manually. So we manually printed out things off the mainframe and had to type them into the new Windows-based, server-based system. And so I led that team. And during those couple of years and a little bit after that, I made friends. I became friends with the project manager for that team. Her name is Anne. And we just started talking, and she saw the potential in me, and she saw that, I was really good at being organized and I liked challenges and I was good with people. And she gave me a chance to move into project management. I started in software testing, quality assurance, got familiar with that, worked at a couple of different places, ended up as a project administrator for her on some very large projects with the national bank, and then moved into project managing my own projects throughout that time. So, if it weren't for Anne, and I love her dearly, and we're still friends on LinkedIn, she really helped set me on this path. And I probably would not have known about project management as a career if it had not been for her and for working with her. So, the friends you make, these serendipitous events that happen in your life can lead you to these places that you never realized that you're going to go to. And so once I got into project management, I'm like, this is fun because I can be organized, I can work with people, and I'm not doing the same thing every day because I get bored easily. I am not a good person that can do the same tasks day in, day out. It will bore me to tears and I'll go crazy. So I love project management because it's very diverse. There's always different things we're doing, different challenges, different people we're working with, different problems we're solving. And so I was doing project management and I wanted to sort of take the next step. And I took a job with a financial technology services company that provides financial solutions for small and mid-sized banks. And I went in and started working for them to develop a project management office for their delivery solutions area. So they were the department that was handling the upgrades for existing customers. And so I went and helped set up project management processes. I helped hire project managers to come in and see the process of doing these upgrades in a way that was delivering value, right, to the people, to the clients. And so I really enjoyed working as a project office manager and a people manager. But then, my career took another turn, and I went to my 20-year high school reunion, and somebody said, I thought you'd be a professor by now. And this was something I had never thought about for myself either. I love to teach. I love to train. I love to help people learn how to do things. And I'd been doing that as the project office manager and, with my friends and peers. But I never thought about making it something formal. So for a couple of years, I was thinking about, I like managing projects. I like managing people. But then I started looking into academia and started looking, what does a professor do? okay, they teach, but they also do research, right? And so then I started looking at, oh, I get to go back to my roots of really liking to learn new things and explore new ideas and investigate the unknown, sort of the uncharted territory of what we don't know about working with people or working in organizations and working on projects. And so I got excited and I decided my midlife crisis was going back and getting a PhD. Quit my job as the project office manager, and I left on very, very good terms with them. And I still stay in contact with my former boss, Ken. And so I enjoyed doing that. But I was very excited about this next stage in my career. And so I went through 4 years of getting my PhD, and then I started teaching at a university, and I realized, wow, this is awesome. Not only do I get to talk about project management every day and research project management every day, I am helping young people find their path, much like Ann did, Ken did, and all the other people that I can look to as those professional mentors that I've had throughout my career. So, I'm now at this stage where I am blessed every time I have a student come back and say, hey, Dr. Woods, I'm using project management. I didn't think I would, but I'm using it, or I'm getting my certification, or I got a job as a project manager. And so it's a real blessing to me right now to be able to do that, because I feel like I'm really helping people. I mean, it's not so much that I'm doing this I like to learn, but I'm not doing this because I'm going to get anything out of it. I get what I get out of it is really helping other people and helping that next generation of young adults really explore the fun and the excitement and the challenge of project and program management.
Wow, and that's amazing, because I think we were lacking a bit when it comes to research, especially. What I find what I've been discussing with other professionals in the field is that we need more of that research and more of that attention to some of these elements, and you're exactly doing that. So that's a really impressive story. And it's also impressive to see, how one person can change your life. How Anne was for you, and how now you're being, for others, you're being that person changing their life. So it's a really impressive career path, and full of value in it. Even the transitions from uncertainty from one major to another, and all that jump back and forth, that's just sounds like a project manager's mind.
Yes.
Of trying to figure out the puzzle.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And those serendipitous moments where you meet somebody and you have no idea how they're going to affect your life or how you're going to affect their life. We talk about delivering value in project management, but in our own personal lives, we deliver value and we receive value from those relationships we have and that we have with other people. And I think being open to that and recognizing those opportunities are what contribute to greater job satisfaction and greater life satisfaction than any accolades or recognition you could ever get.
Yeah, definitely. Was the PhD sounds like it was also a very complex project, a 4-year project, and this was a requirement for you to be able to jump into academia.
Oh, was it?
Was it a condition to have a PhD?
Yes.
In order to be able to teach?
Well, I have I put a plug in for my new YouTube channel called Teaching PM. So I have a teaching project management YouTube channel where I talk about this specifically. So anybody can go in and teach project management, and there's a lot of different levels that you can go in to teaching project management. But if you want to be a full-time professor at a university that's accredited, then you need to get a PhD of some kind. And it's generally in the field. So if you want to teach in engineering project management, then you would probably need a PhD in engineering. I have a PhD in business administration. So I'm in a college of business. If you just want to teach one class, you just want to be what we call an adjunct or a contract or a per course instructor, then the general rule is you have a certification or degree one step ahead of the people you're teaching. So if you're going to teach undergraduates who are getting a bachelor's or their first 4 years of higher education, then you need a master's or an advanced graduate degree or a certification. If you want to teach master's students, it depends on where you are. Sometimes a credential will count. Sometimes you'll need to get like a doctorate in business administration or a PhD to teach master's students. So it really depends upon how much teaching and whether you want it to make it your career, and at what type of school where you want to teach would determine the type of degree you need to get. I wanted a professorship at a public university or private university, so I needed to get the PhD in order to do that.
Okay, I see. How was that experience? I don't have to. I'm assuming that PhD you're working. Did you work in a team or was it more of a solo project?
So here in the US, and I'm learning it's different in Europe. Here in the US, when you get your PhD, you generally take advanced courses in your field, and they're mostly like seminars with a few other PhD students and a professor who works with you on a specific topic. And then you have qualifying or comprehensive exams, which help assess whether you've learned the material. And then you work on a dissertation, which is a solo project that is where you're investigating a new field of study. So in the States, where I got my PhD, there was a cohort of other people getting their PhD in management. I was by far the oldest. Most of them were in their late 20s, early 30s. So I was kind of the big sister of the group. And I also had a lot more work experience. And so the plan is to get your PhD in 4 years, but many, many people take 5 or 6 or more years to do it because of finishing the coursework and then working on the dissertation, which is a big project. But I approached my PhD like a full-time job. I went in and I'm like, I'm giving it 40 to 50 hours a week. I'm going to study, write, research, take classes, everything I need to do in that time, because I also had some young kids and a husband. So, I was trying to balance that too. So I treated it like a job. I was able to get through the comprehensive exams at the end of my second year. And then I was able to work and get my dissertation done in 2 years and a semester. And that's because I treated it like a project. I went through planning. I planned it all out. I had project schedule. I knew when I was going to do the data gathering, which is the research of existing research, when I was going to collect the data, and analyze the data and write the report and do the presentation. So I did treat it like a project, and I treated it like a job. And I think that sometimes people get into education and forget that it's a career. I mean, it is a job. And I even see that with my undergraduate students. And I talk to them about treating every semester as a project. And they've got 4 or 5 courses, they've got deliverables, they've got a timeline, and they've got to put the time in to do that. So I think that's kind of what I did with my PhD. Is I was very methodic. I did not want to spend more than 4 years there, because I had already pulled my kids away from their family. We were in a state we had never lived before. And, I didn't want to make that a permanent situation.
Yeah, no, if even 4 years, it's daunting. It seems a lot. Not to talk about 5 or 6, but you project managed the project. So we should have a course about this, how to project manage a PhD. I'm sure many out there will benefit from it. There are many people who are applying for a PhD. I wonder how many actually kind of plan it out like you did.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when the European models for PhDs are a little different, so you do more research-based work, and you do more research for the existing faculty there, and so it might be easier to make that like a bunch of little projects. But I definitely think, I always tell my colleagues, even when I'm doing research today, I plan it like a project. We have our planning sessions. We set up our charter. It's kind of an informal agreement of how we're going to meet, what our expectations are. I document the deliverables we're going to be producing, like the rough draft, the literature review, the data collection, and things like that. And I treat it like a project. They don't necessarily realize that they are working on a project with me because I don't use project speak. But I do apply those processes, and people have told me that working with me on research is very easy because of the structure I bring to it. So I'm sure people would find it valuable. I just haven't gone that avenue of teaching research project management yet. Maybe I will.
Well, it is an idea to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Because we're not bringing all of these elements of project management for no reason. This is, I guess, one way of delivering value with it.
Absolutely.
So bringing now closer to the book, at what stage, I guess, in your career did you decide that there's the time comes to put a book together?
Yes. And that's a very good question. And I was sitting there thinking about that. When I started, after I got my PhD, it was a couple years, and I started teaching project management at the university I am now. I was the first full-time faculty to teach project management here. And so I was given textbooks, and there are some very good textbooks out there that talk about project management. But what I found was they focused so heavily on the technical aspects of project management, which are important, but it's not the only thing we have to consider. And they would talk about project management in these chunks of knowledge. Like we would talk about stakeholders, right? And then we would talk about teams, and then we would talk about the schedule, and then we talk about the budget, and then we talk about risk. So it's like these discrete packets of knowledge that was being taught, but what was missing was the connectivity, because as we're planning and managing projects, we're doing all of the areas of project management all at the same time. It's like we don't finish risk analysis and put it on the shelf and go on to the next thing. The whole cycle of planning, monitoring, controlling, we are keeping an eye on those risks. The same with stakeholder engagement. And so I was really trying to create a situation for my students where I took them through the process of identifying, planning, and managing projects. And so what I found myself having to do was jumping around in those textbooks, which made it more difficult for me to teach. It made it more difficult for the students to prepare how to study. And, I had to have a whole lot of roadmaps. And so I thought, well, why don't I just write a book? And then I'm like, writing a book's really hard. And so then I found out that Georgia and many other states, we have Affordable Learning Georgia. They offer grants for faculty to create what are called open source textbooks. So open source textbooks are textbooks that are they get a Creative Commons license, which means they're in the public domain. You can use and reuse the material in those books however you want, as long as you attribute it to the original source. So I thought, instead of starting from scratch, there were some open source project management books out there, but they had been like the earlier editions of the Project Management Institute body of knowledge, like the fourth, fifth, sixth editions. And I wanted to bring it up to the latest edition of the PMI standards. And so I took about 4 or 5 existing open source textbooks. I collected a team of people to help me. We got the grant to work on the book. And then I just basically reused, combined, adapted, updated all of those course materials into this book that you see here. And so now what we have created is a Creative Commons, non-commercial, share alike, open source textbook that anyone can use any or all of it. They can adapt it, they can reuse it, they can revise it, whatever they want, as long as they attribute the book. And it's zero cost. So it's free for students, because I don't know if you know, but textbooks can be anywhere from $75 to $150 to $200. And that can be very expensive for students who have 5 classes, don't have full-time jobs. And so I wanted to make something that was free and easy to use. And so that's kind of where we got started. And that's kind of how we ended up where we were. And I don't know if James was one of the students that had to experience the textbook as it was being developed. But the one semester I was doing a chapter the week before class, before I was teaching the chapter in class. So it was like they wouldn't get the material until the very last minute. But my students were wonderful in giving me feedback and working with me on making sure it was clear, and then the other people I worked with to help me with the book, the University Press, the Center for Teaching and Learning, and another professional project manager. They did a great job of getting all the materials together. So, and so this is where we are. And so our first version came out last summer. We have instructor materials. So we've got PowerPoints, we've got student workbooks. I had a student assistant who was integral in helping me create those materials. And we're going to be working on version 2 this summer, just making some revisions, some adding to some stuff and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of how it evolved.
That's amazing. How long did it take to put together the first version?
We were given a year and 4 months. So I would say overall, I would say about 2 years, because it was collecting all the existing resources out there that we could use, like all the open source Creative Commons materials, and then going through them and restructuring and like figuring out what we could take, what we had to revise and update, and what we had to add. So I did all that. And then I even was reaching out to some of the former authors of those books and kind of getting their insight. And so that research took a little bit of time. And then trying to teach a full teaching load, plus doing the textbook, plus doing the research, plus taking care of my family was a lot of fun. But I had a great team, and we got it done. And so I'm very excited about it. And that textbook was one of the reasons I was awarded the PMI Lynn Stuckenbrook Teaching Excellence Award for 2023. Was for producing that textbook. Was one of the reasons. So
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
Yes. It's a very big milestone. I see James has a comment here that it was awesome from his perspective. So I'm sure probably everybody on the team has a similar feeling, and it probably helped you doing, even if it was more challenging and more time consuming, to be able to prepare your material, as you said, right? It was a smart way of doing it before class, so then you had the opportunity to present it to your students and actually get that feedback real time.
Yes.
So actually having the time to do the revisions as needed.
Yes. If I could have put all of their names and not violate FERPA, which is our privacy laws, I would have put all of their names in the attributions page, because they were all very helpful in giving good and constructive feedback that first semester. So I do appreciate them.
So what are the key takeaways about the book? And obviously we can look at, sharing the links to everybody so they can access the actual material, because, as you said, it's open source, so everybody can download the PDF from the website. I'm going to put it in the chat. But what are the key takeaways about the book?
The key takeaways of creating the book. Is that what you were asking?
Not creating necessarily, the key takeaways from the actual content of the book. So when you thought about delivering value project management, how does that look like in your eyes?
So that's really an important aspect of this book, because my project management course that I teach is within a management program in the College of Business. We have students who are not necessarily going to go into project management, but they're going to be working on projects in their organizations. And so I felt very strongly about the need for them to understand why we do project management, not just how, but why. So the purpose of project management is to help organizations deliver value and achieve their strategic objectives. So the main thing I tried to focus on throughout the book is that everything we're doing, whether we're talking with stakeholders and figuring out what their needs are, whether we're documenting scope, when we're looking at the schedule, when we're identifying risk and things like in quality, how does everything we do contribute to the organization's strategic objectives? Because that is how we know we deliver value. So we talk about that through the entire book. Um, we're doing this because we are helping an organization be successful, whether it is to achieve competitive advantage, whether it is to break into a new market, whether it is to fix an existing issue within the organization. Project management and projects must always deliver some kind of value to the organization and everything we do. And so I tried to highlight that throughout the book. And even when the last chapter, we have a chapter on careers in project management and your next steps. Getting certifications in project management is going to help you as an individual deliver value to your organization, because then you're going to be knowledgeable in the best practices and the industry standards on how to deliver projects in a way that you are using company resources wisely and appropriately, and you are showcasing your attention to quality in not only what you're delivering, but how you're delivering your projects. So I think my key takeaway is we have to think about value delivery. And I'm really glad the latest standards for project management from the Project Management Institute really talk about value delivery, because why else would we do projects besides they're fun?
Well, yeah, and hopefully we're not going to get too many more questions about what is your role actually doing. Like some companies start wondering what are project managers actually doing. I think that was a cliche for for a few years now.
Yes,
What
we
are
do a lot.
what in your opinion, what would be the next steps? I know in the book I found a nice structure of it that I was looking at. The last, after project closeout, you have a session that is called the next steps in your next steps in project management. And just curious, what were you thinking when for that one in particular?
Well, yeah, that chapter was really to help students see where they could go in project management. So if it was something that they would want to like get taking this class, studying this book, along with a few other materials now, could help them sit for the Certified Associate in Project Management credential. And so that's a first step for them getting into project management as a career if they're interested in doing that. I think for the book itself, my next steps, I want to add a chapter on adaptive project management for an agile, because this book is really mostly focused on predictive approaches to project management. I do want to add some more information about adaptive approaches. I also want to add some more content related to business analysis and the whole idea of gathering requirements and using the analysis of the organization to make sure that we're selecting projects and choosing deliverables that actually add value in that respect. Because those two areas are also in the latest credential exams for the CAPM. And so those are things I want to add in there as well. A different book I want to create is something called Delivering Value with Program Management. So I think that's like the next iteration, but that's going to be more for project managers who have already been managing projects, multiple projects, and want to move into the next stage of their career into program management.
Yeah, and that's great to have that differentiation, because I think that there's, I know you actually recently had a webinar about project versus program, and I think versus portfolio management.
Yes.
Which was very interesting for whoever didn't see it. It was posted on LinkedIn. It was a really good webinar. I learned a lot myself, and yeah, it was a very good resource. But I think there's something to it. And I saw that you also have a chapter about working with project teams, which is, as we were talking briefly before jumping on this webinar, it's good to know about. It's not a formal training that we usually get, but it's a good one. What you may want to consider, maybe it's already in the book, is about sometimes the I guess that what we call a brand of the project manager and how they present themselves in front of stakeholders, depending on what type of stakeholder they're working with. I think that's also an area where sometimes we aren't able to maybe or maybe for students it would be good to know how you talk and you present the data to different types of stakeholders. Are you sending it to a leadership? You don't want to put too much in there. You want to be more visual. Are you sending it to your project teams? You might want to be more in depth.
Yes.
And that kind of, I think that's also a topic that's pretty interesting. And I guess, AI as well,
Oh,
some digital innovation. I actually saw on your website, there's, let me see if I find it. There was a mention about Project Mentor GPT.
yes. That is, you have to have a ChatGPT license, but I did have it up briefly. And what I did is I took my Delivering Value with Project Management textbook and I created a custom GPT on ChatGPT. So you can then ask it any questions that you want about project management and it will answer based upon the textbook. I was going to open it to my students, but I didn't want to require them to have to pay for that license for ChatGPT. But that is something that if an instructor wants to use it, then I've actually used that custom GPT to help me create a lot of the instructor materials. So the chapter summaries, I've come up with multiple choice questions. ChatGPT has helped me come up with multiple choice questions and test questions, problem sets, cases, like example scenarios that students could then analyze. So I think, from an instructor perspective, using ChatGPT and this custom GPT is a great complement to the textbook. For a project manager, I have a whole nother stream of conversations about the ethical and responsible use of generative AI. And that is definitely something I should probably add to the textbook. Like you said, how we communicate to people and how we share information depending upon the level and needs of our audience, like part of the whole stakeholder analysis. And then also how we use generative AI to fine tune our communications so that they are appropriate, accurate, and understandable. And I think that's a really big area that generative AI is really going to help us as project managers, is make sure that we are communicating appropriately to the right audience. Because again, that's going to help us show the value that we're delivering.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that although it's not yet an completely discovered area and there's lots to talk about AI, but I think that it will be very important, those project managers who are actually verifying that the data that they pull from these platforms makes sense and it's not just a copy paste
right
type of action. I think that's probably also important to keep note of.
Yes.
And also give back the correct data to these platforms because their purpose is to be learning. So if they give us incorrect or inaccurate information, I think in order to make them our, I guess, partners, we should give them back what is the correct way or what is the expected way so that they can actually learn.
Yes. So for those of us in technology project management, the quality of your data, right, influences the quality of your outputs. So garbage in, garbage out. And that is exactly true with ChatGPT. You have to be very careful. You can't just say that everything it has is correct. Which is one reason I like having that custom GPT on a specific set of data, because I can control the knowledge that it has and I can turn off its ability to do a web search, right? So it can only answer me based upon the textbook that I've provided. But when you're using generative AI like Bard and Bing and ChatGPT free, and you're not using a custom GPT, you're getting information from you don't know where. And I've had people, like other instructors, develop, let's do a study list of articles relating to this topic so I can add it to my syllabus. Well, then when they went to go look up the articles, they did not exist. The titles, the journals were real, but the articles were made up. And so we can't assume that everything those generative AI tools are going to give us are accurate, and we must verify and vet. It's like you always have to have a bunch of skepticism with the information you're given, and then verify. And I think I see that's a big challenge I see with my students right now, is that they just ask, Bing or Bard or ChatGPT a question, and they don't try to verify the answer they're given. They'll just say, oh, that's what it told me, I'm done. It's like when you do a Google search and you pick the first thing that shows on the list. That doesn't mean it's the best result. And that's the same thing with the generative AI tools. What it's giving you may not be the best result, and you've got to have a conversation with it. You've got to ask it to prove to you where the sources came from, right? And like you said, if it says something wrong, we have to say, that is an incorrect statement. This is what it should have been. And so teaching young people, and even everybody, I guess all age groups, we all need to learn how to use this. Teaching ourselves how to communicate with this generative AI as a conversation, as someone treating it like it's learning from you as much as you're learning from it, right? I think you're right. That is extremely important. And I think that until we can all get that in our heads, there's going to be a lot of misuse and misunderstanding of these generative AI tools.
Yeah, no, I think it should be a conversational interaction, even if it's not a human. We should, because otherwise it's going to, we couldn't take anything that's giving from granted, because what it can be a data dump, if it's especially if it's a public platform. But
yeah,
I guess more to come on that. It's new
yes.
challenges for project managers
Yes.
to dive in other unexplored areas.
Yes, and I'm actually doing a presentation in May with the PMI chapter out west on the responsible and ethical use of generative AI. So it's a big topic. It's an important topic. Professional associations are looking into it. So there's definitely more to come.
Yeah. So you spoke a lot about then your profile and all the interviews. You're really supporting your students, and you enjoy doing this very much, to the point of actually trying to find ways for them to make it easier for them, not just to develop in their career, but also transition from from school to a career. Talk a bit about it. What are your current, I guess, projects, or what are you most happy about in this part of your job?
Okay, yes. So there's a couple of initiatives I am sort of helping along. One of them, there is another international organization for students, and it's focused on social entrepreneurship and sustainability, and it's called Enactus, Enactus. And I am a faculty advisor for the local university club. These students work on projects that contribute to the betterment of our community and society through focusing on the sustainable development goals and social entrepreneurship and using project management. So I am very passionate about helping them be successful in that area, and doing projects for the community and seeing how project management can help make the world a better place through the sustainable development and social entrepreneurship projects. I am also encouraging and always looking for internships for my students. So those that are interested in working in project management upon graduation need to get some kind of experience. And while we can use class projects, club projects on their resume as project work, the best things that they can do are get internships where they're actually maybe shadowing a project manager or working as an administrator or a project assistant and learning how project management is done in a real organization, because that is where it helps them apply what the book learning to the real world, because that is the only way we can really understand how things work, is if we get it out of our head and into something tangible that we can actually participate in. I also help my students study for and complete credential exams like the Certified Associate in Project Management. I have about 2 or 3 students every semester right now that pass the exam and get that credential, and it's something that they can add to their resume to help show their serious attitude about getting into project management. And that's opened a lot of doors for them. as well. I mean, I recently had one student, besides the one here, to work for a local sports arena. And they do a lot of projects in their work as far as the entertainment and games and things like that. And so she's been able to move into a project management role very quickly because she had her credential and she had the experience in project management activities as a student. So whatever I can do to help the students get experience in the real world and to sort of open their eyes, because when I was an undergrad, I had no idea project management was a thing because I didn't know anybody who did it. I wasn't in the right spaces to hear about it. But then I was very excited, when I started working in business to be exposed to it, because I'm like, I was made for project management and project management was made for me because that's just how I think. And so I love being able to show that to students that, hey, there's this career path that is never going to bore you. And there's always opportunities to go into so many different industries, so many different businesses and different types of projects, and just really help organizations deliver value and also help make the world a better place, especially when we look at, NGOs and international development project work, sustainable development project work, and the like. So, I do what I can to get them exposed through internships, exams, or credential exams and projects on their student clubs.
That's amazing. And I think that, from an industry perspective, you probably need more of these collaborations with industry and academia just to support all of, all the future project managers, because otherwise, that's how they get value from, and that's how they grow and learn things early on so they can then support the businesses.
Yes. Yeah, and I do think there's a big issue facing higher education today because people are questioning the value of getting a college degree. And so, again, we have to go, how can a college degree help deliver value for the students and the organizations that hire them? So we need to really think about programs like project management, which is multidisciplinary, right? I've got film and theater students that are interested in project management. We've got biology, chemistry students are going to go into research after their graduation. They're going to be doing project management. You've got engineering students, of course, you've got business students, high school, like school teachers or the public school teachers are going to be teaching project management to their students, and so it's such a multidisciplinary field that this is one area that we can help so many people improve their marketable and employability skills and also find something that they enjoy doing. So I'm very passionate. If you can't tell, I'm very passionate about project management as a career and helping people see like how much fun this career is and can be.
How important is it for students, for the students that you work with, to have these certifications? For example, the certified, the CAMP,
CAPM.
CAPM.
It really helps because more and more organizations, especially those who kind of understand project management, they like to see those credentials. And so if a student doesn't have a lot of work experience that they can put on their resume, then at least having that credential signifies that they understand the concepts. So, and also that they can learn, because it takes a lot to study for and pass those types of exams. So it showcases that, hey, this person has been validated as knowing what project management is. And so we've already overcome that first hurdle. So now we just need to get them into our organization and let them see how we're doing project management. And they'll be able to hit the ground running a little faster than someone coming in and having no way to prove that they have knowledge of project management. So it's, as competitive as the job market is, anything we can do on our resumes to sort of show that, hey, we're a step ahead of everybody else that's applying for this job, and this is why you need me. But again, going back to my very first part of the conversation, we also need to make sure we support the leadership, interpersonal skills of our people, as well as understanding the business itself, like the strategic aspect of the project, because the technical aspect is just one component. And you can get really good at that, but you also need to show where you've developed your leadership, interpersonal skills, your teamwork, collaboration, conflict resolution, and also how well you understand the business and what businesses do to be successful.
Which you complement with internships.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
How do you find? I'm assuming you have a database of companies that you collaborate with for these internships.
Yeah, well, at my university, we're still kind of young in the project management internship space. So, but we do have at our university, we do have a database of, it's called Handshake, and any organization can go in and post internships there. And so I'm always looking to add more project management focused internships because that is really helps students explore that as a career and decide, well, maybe I don't like that so much, or wow, I really like this. So yeah, we do have a database and we're always taking input.
And how are the companies aware of, for example, of Handshake? Is the university doing any, I guess, form of lobby, or are there events where they talk about it?
Yes, we have career development days. We have our career services at our university and in our College of Business reach out to organizations and ask them if they have any internships that they'd like to post there. When I interact with like project management institute chapters, like PMI chapters, when I interact with people like you, I'm always saying, hey, if you have any jobs that could be an internship, or you're looking for students to come in and do some work and learn about your business, let me know. We'll get you in Handshake and we'll find a student that's going to do a super job helping you. So it's a lot of word of mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that works.
Mhm.
That works. And you're attending a lot of events in general, so you have that exposure.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's good.
Yeah, I'm very active with my local chapter of PMI. I'm on the board of directors there. So I have a lot of contacts, and I have so many people I contact on LinkedIn, and having things like this where I can share knowledge and sort of open the door is extremely helpful. So I do appreciate that.
So what are the upcoming, you mentioned you have in May, you have an event with PMI.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What are other events that you have that, people want to look out for you?
Okay, well, that's the only one I have so far. That for the rest of the year, I'm working on a couple more presentations in the fall, but I can't really talk about those yet. But this is the one that's published, so it's PMI Olympia in Olympia, Washington, and it's going to be an on-site in-person meeting, but it will be recorded, and I will be making that available on my Teaching PM YouTube channel after it's done. So, and I will keep posted.
But what is about the Teaching PM? This sounds very interesting.
So, yes. So last fall at the PMI Global Summit, I was invited to be on a panel that was, so you've been asked to teach project management, now what? Right. And so I was on the panel with two other professors, and we talked about what it took to get into a position teaching project management at a university or college. So something in the academic space, not the private sector. So you can be a trainer in the private sector, right? That's not what I'm talking about. What we're talking about is how to get into teaching project management to university students, and there tend to be 18 to 25 early career professionals. How do you teach project management? How do you find jobs in project management? And then and when I'm talking about teaching project management, I'm talking about things like, how do you engage students in a classroom? How do you grade assignments? How do you help students learn project management through an academic setting? So it's more from an instructor academic perspective, but it's open to anybody that's interested in learning how to teach, because I'm going to be bringing in some andragogy, which is adult learning theory. And I have some interviews that I'm getting ready to put up with current instructors who teach project management, and they're going to share their best practices. I'll be including things like this and things where I talk about, how to use the textbook Delivering Value with Project Management, how to find good teaching resources that are relevant. So like there's been a couple of incidents in the last 2 weeks with major companies experiencing software failure. And you can tie that to project management issues. Like if we had done a better assessment of the impact of implementing this change, or if we had done a better job of communicating with all the stakeholders, right, we would not have had those problems. So learning how to look at news articles of things like that and how to bring it into the classroom. Those are the kind of topics I'll be talking about on the channel.
That's very interesting, to do case studies on actual real world situations.
Yes. 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 I spent a whole day in a strange city without my mobile phone service because my mobile service provider's system went down because of an implementation error that could have been managed or prevented, hopefully, with good program management. So there's a lot of case studies out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a very good exercise. And I think this YouTube channel is amazing. And it's amazing not just for teachers, as you said, I think it's for the general audience, because if we understand how you as a professor think and approach things, that's a very good learning for us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And one of the other reasons I wanted to get my PhD is I saw all this research out there in all these journals that are in libraries behind paywalls. And there was some really good information there, but then you had all these practitioners who couldn't access it or didn't even know it existed. So I think another role I see myself playing is a translator of academic research for a practitioner audience. So what is the latest research on mega projects, for example? There's a lot of good research going on in Europe about mega projects and all of the complexities involved there. What can we take away from that to share with the practitioners so that they can then improve how they manage mega projects or even small projects, because you can get lessons learned from how major projects are done to handle your own smaller scale projects. So that translation bridge, I think, is very important. And I think I'd love to see more academics go into that space.
And well, I guess to this point, hopefully within the PMO leader, there will be some more movement in this direction this year. So we're excited about that. But we're almost done on the top of the hour, and thank you for bearing with all my questions here and sharing your piece of knowledge and your enthusiasm for what you do. And at least I'm very excited now about what I do. just after we spoke, and just I guess if there's anything else that you want to say before we close the meeting.
No, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me, and you've shared the link for my website. I'm also on LinkedIn, and I think I've shared that in my profile. So I'm always happy to talk with people. I'm going to be working on a coaching project management in the next year to sort of create a space where I can broaden my reach to just beyond my students, to help other early career professionals or even late stage professionals learn how to develop their skills, or for late stage professionals, how to pay it forward and how to help teach the next generation of project managers, because we need people with experience who can teach and share the excitement that they have with project management with others too.
Train the trainer.
Yes, absolutely.
It might be easier for you.
Well, like I said, I love to teach and I love talking about project management, so it's a perfect spot for me.
That I think that's the first and main element of a good professor. When you love what you do, the others cannot not when they hear you, right? They steal that passion from you. So thank you for being so passionate, and we will follow up this. So this webinar was recorded. Whoever didn't make it, we'll post it. We'll post the recording on social media very shortly, so you can take it from there, re-listen and reshare. And then we'll also see about whoever is in need of paper copies of the textbook. Juanita was very kind to offer a paper version for whoever is interested.
I have 2 copies I can give away, so it's first come, first serve.
2. We'll fight for them.
All right. Thank you so much.
We'll make sure to mention that. And then thank you, Juanita, one more time. Have a lovely rest of your day and a lovely weekend. Thank you, everybody who attended. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you know how to reach us. And stay tuned on LinkedIn for more information about our next episode of Books and Beyond. No further details as of now. But everybody have a wonderful day, and we will be in touch soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Okay.